What's going on, guys? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Red Gold Standard Podcast. As always, I am Zach Hernandez, and I'm joined by my co-host, Matt Llewellyn, and our guy, Mike Andrews of Nothing But Niners. And unfortunately, we're here to break down another 49ers loss, this time at the hands of the Minnesota Vikings in Week 7 on Monday Night Football. They lost a tough one, 22-17 overall final score. We got a lot to get into, so please make sure you're tuned in on YouTube. Head over to youtube.com/49ers Hive and join from there. While you're here, hit like, hit subscribe, drop a comment with your thoughts. We want to hear it all. Now that I got that out of the way, Matt, how you doing this evening?
I'm doing better than the 49ers did the other night. So, it's a Tuesday, and we're going to break down a loss. I'm not going to let it get me down too much. Positive stuff in the life going on. So, at the end of the day, it's just a football game, but I'm locked and loaded for tonight, and everybody's catching a stray. So let's jump into it, man.
Yeah, man. Mike, how you doing?
I'm good, man. You know, another day above ground is a good one, so I'm not gonna cry. But man, oh man, this was weird. This was weird, and I can't wait to get your guys' takes on everything, man. I've had the I guess benefit of discussing it a couple of times already, but it's always good to get different people's perspectives, and I like to try to bring a little something different in the middle of it. So I'm excited.
All right, let's do it. So I'm just going to go through. I finally took some notes because every show we do, I finish and I walk away from this computer. I'm like, damn, I didn't say what I wanted to say. Okay, so just want to get a couple quick notes out. And please, guys, feel free to chime in with your thoughts as I'm going through here, right? Right away, I got flashbacks to that Cleveland game. Early interception. I'm hyped. I'm thinking the 49ers are about to set the tone, get 7 on a stolen possession, right? That's like the best start ever. Christian McCaffrey fumbles the ball. Fumbles the ball at the 11-yard line. His second red zone fumble in 3 weeks. I saw somebody say second in 2 weeks. I don't think that's correct. I don't think he had one against Cleveland. It was against Dallas. So second red zone. Yeah. Okay. No. I don't think it was you.
Oh, it wasn't me.
So Chris McCaffrey fumbles the ball, and instead of a huge momentum shift, being able to start on the 49ers setting the tone early, quieting the crowd, more importantly, they turn the ball over after getting a turnover and then allow the Vikings offense to dog walk them down the field, 89 yards to a touchdown pass to the rookie Addison. I believe Greenlaw was in coverage on that, if I remember correctly. Immediately the crowd's into it, crowd's roaring, the crowd's live, you're getting skull chants, and I'm thinking, all right, it's going to be a long night. What were you guys' reactions after that first, I guess, 3 possessions, because it was interception, fumble, and then touchdown. After that sequence of plays, Matt, how are you feeling? What were you thinking?
Yeah, even after the first touchdown that Minnesota got, I wasn't too worried about it. I didn't like to see Christian McCaffrey putting the ball on the ground again. I think that is quickly going to become an issue if they're not careful with that. I did think that some of the coverages on that drive were reminiscent of early Robert Saleh, where this team was just unable to get off the field on 3rd and longs. They were giving up plays, playing super soft, and it was just one of those things where I was just the touchdown to Addison, which was over Dre Greenlaw, who just had his back turned the whole time. There was something there that I didn't like, and it was such a halfway kind of half effort to put his arm up, right? He sees, he's got a back turn. He knows exactly where Addison is. Man, as soon as he hit that goal line, both of his arms should have been up because Addison's right in front of you. Like, you see the goal line coming where you only got 10 yards of room in front of you. At some point or another, just put your hands up on the hope that you already got your back turned. You're obviously not going to make a great play on the ball. Addison's faster than you. You're not going to catch up to him. So at that point, try to do what you can to, maybe break up a pass or whatever. We'll get into how I feel about the defense overall, but this was another indication that this is not the same 49ers unit that we've been used to the last few years, and we're going to have to get used to that going forward. It's not looking good.
Agreed. It was what's most confusing to me, Mike, I'm going to throw it to you right now, but most confusing to me is, if anything, the pieces improved from last year. And I think something that we kind of sold ourselves short going into the year on is just how much Jimmy Ward covered up. Jimmy Ward's now in Houston with D'Amico Ryans. I don't know if it was him, he was the glue holding this defense together, or if it's a combination of losing him plus a new DC coming in from outside and trying to do a mix of implement his own things and keep things the same. Like we talked about in the last show, was a little strange that he came in. They didn't even allow him to bring his own terminology. Like he had to adapt all of his concepts to the 49ers terminology. Mike, what were your thoughts on that first sequence there?
Yeah, I thought it was positive to see the offense march down the field the way that they did after the turnover. Obviously, you don't want to see the fumble. I didn't care for that, but I didn't get discouraged, right? I looked at it as one touch, one scoring drive, minus the score, though, right? So I try to stay positive with it as far as that goes. But then watching the defense, like the offense is upset. That they're down, right? It's like this team rides one wave of emotion the entire time. And it was kind of like a precursor. Like the defense is better than what we saw on that second Minnesota drive, right? The defense is better than what we saw. We shouldn't be giving up 89 yards to a team. I don't care if they're the home team or not. Like that's a lot. Make them settle for 3. And it just seemed like it was just going to be one of those nights. But I was like, it's okay. You look at some of the mistakes that were made on that defensive drive, and it's like we can fix these. These are all correctable thing. So I wasn't like, oh, this one's over. I didn't say that this early.
So the most concerning thing, or the thing that stands out the most to me about that first Viking scoring drive, I'm going to go through these play sequences real quick. 1st and 10 at the 11, negative 2-yard run. 2nd and 12 at the 9, incomplete pass. A loss and an incomplete puts you at 3rd and long in my books. 3rd and 12, a short pass to TJ Hawkinson for 16 yards. Mm-hmm. So instead of getting off the field on a quick 3 and out, your offense just gave off the ball. Instead, he hits his, let's be honest, main weapon, because Justin Jefferson's in, sweatpants and sunglasses on the sideline on IR. You would think TJ Hawkinson would be the one that Steve Wilks circled, highlighted, put asterisks around going into tonight, saying, this is the one guy we can't let beat us. He had his way with the 49ers defense for basically most of the game, at the very least the first half. So he gets 16 yards on 3rd and 12. And from there, they just kept driving the ball, going down the field. By the way, this is the 49ers' first time this season they did not score on their opening possession. They were in full position to. I mean, they were at the 11-yard line. The drive that they had off the interception, 5 plays, 35 yards, averaging 7 yards a play. They were moving the ball well. I mean, they looked good. I'm not going to lie. It's just unfortunate that happened. The next drive, they actually do start to move the ball well. Again, 10 plays, 53 yards, short run. And then Purdy is just looking automatic. This first drive hits Ayuk for 10 yards, 6-yard run. Unfortunately, a backup by Kittle, but no problem. Purdy hits Jennings for 18 yards. And then scramble for 17 yards, which really showcased his short area, quickness. Everybody likes to talk about his 3-cone speed is similar to Lamar Jackson's. It was on display on that play. I thought for sure he was going to get sacked. He turns into a 17-yard gain. And then, unfortunately, nothing happens after that. A run, a short pass, and then an incomplete pass. Jake Moody comes out for a 40-yard field goal on 4th and 5 at the Vikings 22-yard line. Before we even get into what happens, were you guys surprised that Kyle made the decision to kick it there and didn't go for it? Matt?
I was. There was a part of me that was like, yeah, let's go for it. Like, let's set the tone. Let's let them know we're here to play. I said we should go for it, but I wasn't mad at him running the field goal team out, because I also remember how the last game went, and I said, so I was like, we should go for it. Then when I saw him running the team out, like, you know what? This kid felt a lot of pressure. Let's start him off with an easy one. So this is good. This is going to build some confidence. It's not going to get much easier than this. Like, let's go. I got behind him. Kyle, way to show faith in your team, specifically some of the players that were struggling. Way to go. Let's go get it.
I wasn't surprised. I mean, again, they talked about it last week, right? The prospect of a 40-yard field goal is about 84% chance of converting. Unlike last week, there was no weather. There was no wind. You were inside a dome, controlled kick. the pregame BS about him slipping on the turf notwithstanding, he did the same thing that he seems to do a lot, which is push that ball right. And I'm not surprised that Kyle wanted to get him a field goal, right? You want to erase those bad, memories from a kicker's mind. Kickers have to sit there with it the whole time. Their only job is to kick and make that kick. It's not like a receiver that drops a pass and then gets to line up the next play and go run another route. Things for kickers can compound quickly if you're not careful. And I think Kyle was just trying to give him a confidence builder, and he missed it again.
Which is funny because right after last game ended, we were all discussing in the group chat, is this something to be concerned about long term? We talked about it in the show, and everybody was like, no, not yet. As soon as he missed that kick, everybody in the chat was like, okay, it's a problem. It's a big problem. We know how much of a mental game kicking is, and luckily we saw it did not continue. We have a super chat here from our guy, Great Fox 198. How do you inherit an elite defense with an improved D line and you make it mediocre? For fuck's sake, fire him. His defenses were always mid. We should have hired Fangio. Fangio was gone right away, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we can address this in a little bit. We'll come back to this because I think all of us have a lot to say on that.
Yeah. So, like Matt said, the kick is no good. I agree with you. My thoughts at the time were, I think he's just trying to get Moody's taste out of his mouth from missing kicks last week. Unfortunately, he missed it. I hate to do this because it's almost like what's the word, the term where it's like one thing happened and then a million other things happened.
Oh, butterfly effect.
Butterfly effect. But 49ers lose by 5 points. Well, fumble and missed kick is at the very least 6 points there, if not 10. Right. So that happens. The Vikings then go 13 plays, 67 yards for a field goal. Again, Kirk is just looking automatic. I'm not going to go through play by play, because that'll take too much time. I don't have much to go. The next drive was the best drive, in my opinion, of the night for the 49ers. 12 plays, 75 yards. Purdy hits Kittle, short McCaffrey run, a delay of game, which was frustrating, but okay. Made 3rd and 2 to 3rd and 7, but no problem. Purdy hits Ayuk for 25. Big gain. One of the best throws of the night for Purdy. And then McCaffrey run for 3, hits Purdy, Ayuk again for 6, short run for 3. And then Elijah Mitchell's only touch of the night comes on 1st and 10 at the 35 of the Vikings for a -1 yard run. Very next play, shotgun pass to Jennings for 10 yards, 2-minute warning. And then what pissed me off, they have to burn a timeout coming out of the 2-minute warning.
This drive, I'm sorry.
Please.
This drive let me know a lot of things. One, there's stubbornness in the coaching staff. We saw what Elijah Mitchell was and wasn't last week. They quickly pulled him and then put Mason in there to let him do it. Why go back to it? There was a certain stubbornness about what we were seeing. And then seeing that the timeout right after the 2-minute warning, I said, we're in our own way. We're in our own way. And was this the same drive with a delay of game that had already happened?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
This is the same drive.
Same drive.
This was letting me know, like, this is when I said this game might already be over. Regardless of how this drive ended, and we liked it. We liked the way the drive ended. This let me know there's a lot going on mentally with this team, not just the kicker. It's the team.
It was very frustrating to see. But okay, so take a timeout coming out of the 2-minute warning, and then McCaffrey run for 8 yards, shotgun, 12-yard screen pass to Roswelly, which is interesting. And then 2 plays later, McCaffrey run up the middle for a touchdown, and Moody makes the extra point. I'm thinking everything's good. Matt, we even talked about it in the chat, the visualization of the ball going through the uprights. He's great. And maybe that was what he needed because he didn't miss another kick that night. So it's now, 7:10? And there's a minute left. After the kickoff, there's 54 seconds left go in the first half. 49ers only down 3 points. I'm thinking we just got all the momentum back. We're about to go into halftime, down 3. 49ers get the ball, start the second half. We're going to pass them then. And in my opinion, one of the dumbest play calls I've seen.
Yeah, let's get through all the play-by-play and come back,
Okay,
because
all
once we get through the game play-by-play, we're gonna come right back to this one too.
Okay,
we need to talk. I think that's going to be the big topic of the night, in my opinion. There's going to be two.
Obviously, first down, second down, they get a first down, and then on 3rd and 6 from the
From the 40.
From the 40. Thank you. With 11 seconds left, I want to say. I don't think this time here on ESPN is accurate.
It was 6 seconds.
There were 6 seconds. Okay.
Oh no.
There was like 16
we got the ball
seconds.
back for 6 seconds. Yeah,
okay,
we got the ball back for 6 seconds.
So it was like 16 seconds.
16 seconds left. 3rd and 6 of the Minnesota 40. A broken play, which should have been an interception by Charvarius Ward, his second of the night, he got punked. I mean, he punked Addison for his first interception. Addison punked him right back before half, and there's nobody behind him. Turns into a 60-yard catch and run for a touchdown. And the 49ers, I think, take a knee going to half. They missed the extra point. So at this point, it's 16-7 going into half, where it was just, 10 seconds ago, 7-10 instead of 16-7. So to open up the half, I'm thinking that's all right. 49ers are going to get a touchdown, and they're going to pull within 2 points. No, absolutely not. I was foolish. They get a first down, and then they go another 3 and out. Basically, the sack, which was one of the most embarrassing sacks I think I've ever seen this unit give up. The Vikings rushed 3. The Vikings rushed 3 men, and Colton McKivitz was spinning around like a turnstile within 2.5 seconds. Purdy's already dipping out trying to run. And Purdy does this thing sometimes. I love Purdy, where he foolishly tries to either throw the ball away or chuck it out. Why leave it up to the interpretation of the refs? Because they did call that a fumble that the Vikings recovered. Luckily, it was clear enough that he was down and it was overturned.
The week after, PJ Walker did some bullshit and they said it was a forward pass. So I think it would have been reversed either way. They were never going to call that a fumble.
I think they made the right call. Hear me out. It was clearly not a fumble because they reviewed it.
No, but it gives it a chance to review.
Right. Don't make a play that you can't review. Yeah. The refs did the right thing in my opinion, in that situation. That was a perfect call to do.
Which is our problem with last week.
Right.
The other way with the Browns.
Right.
But yeah, exactly. So Purdy, that ends up being a 12-yard loss and a sack given up. Danielle Hunter's 9th sack of the year, I believe. So 3rd and 25, incomplete pass. So the 49ers get a first down, and then 3 plays later, punt. The Vikings then go 11 plays for 77 yards. Again, Kirk Cousins is just lethal the entire night. On top of that, the Vikings ground game starts to get going. Their screen game starts to get going. 49ers cannot get a stop to save their lives. I think I saw every single third down they got was either a field goal attempt. Third down stop was either a field goal attempt or one punt. So if not a punt, it was a field goal attempt. They just happened to miss one. So they get the field goal after getting stopped at the 2-yard line, which was, in my opinion, a little cowardly by Kevin O'Connell not to go for it. But hey, they won the game. It was the right call ultimately because they got the exact amount of points they needed. So they go for the field goal. They get it. It's 19-7. 49ers are now down 12 points. They get the ball, and they go 3 plays, 75 yards. Purdy hits McCaffrey for 12 yards. Purdy hits Kittle for 28 yards. And then Purdy, with this nice screen pass, which I don't know why we didn't see more of, hits McCaffrey for a 35-yard touchdown. And again, Moody makes the extra point. So what were your guys' thoughts on this drive?
I mean, this is what they were capable of that they just didn't do for most of the night. And I think the reason is pretty clear when we talk about what happened earlier with McKivitz. But it was a good drive, and it was one of those where you started to feel like maybe the momentum was going to swing back towards the 49ers, right? D has been struggling the whole time. They get out there real quick. They score, beautiful touchdown drive, give the defense an opportunity to make a stand, and they have the momentum back. For as much as the Vikings had the ball, the 49ers closed the gap, and it's a 1-score game right there.
Yep. Also, I wanted to add, before going into halftime, Ayuk was absolutely on fire. Mike, he was almost living up to your prediction of what did you have? 200 receiving yards, 180 receiving yards. He had 5 receptions for 57 yards at one point early in the second quarter. Very early in the second quarter. He would go on to finish with
5 catches and 57
yards on 6 targets. And the 6th target was essentially on a broken play that was thrown at his feet, which he almost made a hell of a catch. Unfortunately, the ball touched the ground on a 3rd down too, I believe. So Niners get the touchdown on a nice screen pass, plenty of beautiful blocking out front. I don't know why we didn't see more of that, but okay, whatever. 14-19, 49ers down 5 points. Well, the Vikings go another 10 plays, 50 yards, because I believe, there's no, not too many penalties here. This isn't the drive I'm thinking of. So they get a field goal. It's now 22-14. And at this point, clock's starting to be an issue. 49ers get the ball back with 20 seconds left in the 3rd quarter, down 5. And I'm thinking there's plenty of time, but they're down 5. We need to see a little bit more urgency here. They do drive the ball a little bit, 31 yards, because 31 yards to the Minnesota 37. And after a couple incomplete passes, after a run on 1st down, Jake Moody comes out for a 55-yard attempt. In my mind, I'm thinking, Kyle, what the fuck are we doing here? It's a 4th and 6 from the Minnesota 37. Just go for it, man. Like, up until this point, Purdy had looked good, in my opinion. Purdy had looked good. Ayuk had looked good. Kittle had looked good. Even Jennings looked good. Just go for it. But instead, he made the right choice. Moody makes the fucking 55-yard kick, which I'm like,
with the uprights right down the middle.
It was a beautiful kick. So makes the 55-yarder. At this point, it is now it's 17-22. My apologies. Previously, it was 14-22. Now it's 17-22. And they kick the ball off with 13:21 left in the 4th quarter. The Vikings go 7 plays all the way to the 49ers 42-yard line, and then Kirk Cousins put the ball perfectly down the sideline onto KJ Osborne. Just couldn't haul it in. I mean, it should have been a 1st down and a nice gain. KJ bobbles it, and it ultimately falls incomplete. So the 49ers get a gift, and they get the ball back with 9:14 left, down 5. And I'm thinking, oh, baby, here we go. It's Brock Purdy time. We're going to see him or have his moment. And what does he do? He goes 7 plays and throws an interception. So the drive's looking good, short pass to McCaffrey for 4 yards, hits Kittle for 16 yards, McCaffrey run for 9 yards. This is a drive where that 9-yard run came back to bite him because they had to go for it on 4th down, but they did it. Brock Purdy sneaks it. He tried sneaking it on 3rd and 1, didn't get it, but he went again for it on 4th and inches. He got it. And then the very next play after going for it on 4th down, this is one of those capital A anticipation throws like JT O'Sullivan likes to talk about in quarterback school. Expects Juwan, sorry, we're going to get into it later, but he expects Juwan to break somewhere. He wasn't. Bynum for the Vikings is right there all over the ball, intercepts it. And I'm thinking, damn, that might be it. There's 5.5 minutes left. Purdy threw his first interception of the night. That might be it. But the Vikings go 10 plays, 38 yards, and miss a field goal. This drive includes another illegal contact on Charvarius Ward, and then a holding on Oliver, but they ended up declining because the pass to Jordan Addison ended up being for 13 yards. But Joseph misses the kick. It's no good. The 49ers are going to get the ball back with a little under a minute, I believe. Minute and 11, with no timeouts, but that's plenty of time. They missed a field goal, so it's not like they're having to kick it off and return it from the 25. They're already at their own 40-yard line. So they can go 60 yards in a minute and 11 seconds. It's not a problem. Unfortunately, Purdy hits Kittle for a basically no gain on 1st down. 2nd down, he hits McLeod for 9 yards. 3rd down, he hits McLeod for another 11 yards. They're suddenly at their own, the Vikings 40-yard line. And I'm thinking, oh, man, we're going to do it. He runs up, spikes the ball, and 2nd and 10 at the Minnesota 40. He's kind of flushed out of the pocket, steps up, runs to his right, throws back into the middle of the field. And I don't know if he was trying to float it over Bynum, but Bynum gets his second interception of the night, sealing the fate for the 49ers. Vikings then take the knee and clock expires. And the Niners catch their second loss of the year, and they lose 22-17 in what many are basically blaming Brock Purdy for, which I think is very wild. But that's the game, folks. That's how the 49ers end up 5-2 after 7 weeks. So please, Matt, your thoughts on whatever you want to start on. Take it away.
We got to start with an area that's supposed to be a strength for the 49ers, an area which they have sunk by far the most amount of money into, between Javon Hargrave and Nick Bosa and Eric Armstead, second round draft capital into Drake Jackson. They just trade for Randy Gregory. They keep rotating these guys in and out. You know, they run this thing like 9, 10 deep. Kirk Cousins had 45 dropbacks, 1 quarterback hit, 0 sacks. Okay. That's a problem. That's a problem. And they're not winning in their pass rush reps. They're not winning on the back end. This defense looks absolutely lost. And for a unit that on paper improved, you got to look somewhere. And I think we need to start looking up towards that booth. They lack energy that they did not lack before. I don't want to make too much of like the new school way of coaching this and that, but I think that it's something to be said for when you make a mistake, having to look your coach in the eye rather than pick up a telephone so that he can talk to you. You know what I mean? This unit looks busted. You're talking about a guy that comes in, and I want to start with the most damning thing of the night. 16 seconds left, 3rd and 6. You're running a fucking zero blitz. A zero blitz with no help over the top. Why? Why? Your defense had been soft as dog shit to that point. All of a sudden, now you want to run up to the line. And then when inevitably disaster strikes, there's nobody to cover over the top. There's nobody there to back them up. When on a normal play, maybe Hufanga would be there. Maybe Gibson would be there, right, to clean up the mess and at least save a touchdown, perhaps hold them to 3. No, it's a free and clear touchdown. The calls tonight were absolutely atrocious. And I don't like going in on one person in particular. And I think that all the players deserve a big share of the blame. But I think when you look at all things being equal, without a ton of change last year, other than, I don't know, one of the biggest free agent signings in the NFL in the offseason, you're looking at one guy. It's got to be the coach. It's got to be the coach. And I think that, you know, Mike, I think you alluded to it, that they're looking to make Wilkes the fall guy. Man, the cracks are showing. The cracks are showing. Kyle said in his presser he was not impressed with that result and that they're going to talk about what that call was. And then Nick Bosa, who really never says anything, comes out and says, yeah, we're usually like a 4-man rush type of team, but not this year. This team looks like they don't know what call is going to come in, and they're ill-prepared. And you can see it when they're out on the field. A ton of time. I mean, the 49ers always buttoned up, down, ready, looking to go in years past. This year, Fred's like making hand signals, and Hufanga's trying to figure it out. And you got the corner looking over like, what am I supposed to do? They just look lost. This defense made Kirk Cousins look like the best quarterback in the NFL. On a night where they did actually okay against the run, where Minnesota averaged 3.5 yards per carry, you give Kirk Cousins 35 of 45, 378 yards and 2 touchdowns with a pick that really was like a bang-bang play. And I know that second touchdown was a bang-bang play, but guess what? Points matter. Points matter in the NFL because that interception turned into a Christian McCaffrey fumble and we didn't get anything off of it. So what was more impactful? It wasn't Ward's. And listen, I got a bone to pick with Ward too. That dude is getting abused out there. Abused. Like penalties, getting burnt, not playing. It just looks bad, just all the way around. This defense absolutely stunk against the pass. No pass rush, shitty coverage, nobody knowing what they're supposed to be doing. And man, you got to look somewhere. Traditionally, these players are playing really, really well in years past. You're telling me that all of them all of a sudden just became like really shitty, or are they trying to carry out a game plan that doesn't necessarily fit what the players are, that doesn't look like it fits what they've been doing before? And this, all gas, no brakes went to the car is out of gas, and we better push that bitch up the street. It's just disgusting all the way around.
Yeah. So real quick, and then I'm going to toss it to Mike. On that exact play, this is what I wrote. Why call it on a blitz? I mean, it makes no sense. Gibson was the safety that didn't blitz, but he was not in position to make that play. He was on the complete other side of the field. Hufanga actually was the unblocked man, and if you watch the play from all 22 angle, he just kind of hesitates. He's the one who's unblocked. Like, if somebody needs to not hesitate and go directly at the quarterback, it's Talanoa Hufanga on that play. Instead, he looks like a quarterback spy. He's sitting there watching Kirk Cousins as if Kirk Cousins is Lamar Jackson, and he's afraid he's going to roll out of the pocket and go 60 yards to the house. I don't know what he's doing. Why call the play? With some of the comments here, he calls soft defense when it's 3rd and 2. The corners are 7 to 10 yards back. But on 3rd down, 16 seconds, the Vikings have no timeout. They're on their side of the 50. You want to bring the house? You want to bring the and my main thing is best case scenario, which people are telling me, yeah, Zach, but Ward still has to catch that. Best case scenario, he catches that and they go to half. Worst case scenario, he gets burnt for a touchdown, which is what we saw. In that scenario, a tackle is just as valuable as the interception because it results in the same outcome. You go to half down 3. Mike, please give me your thoughts because I'm at a loss for words here.
That last play is what has this defense looking the way that it does. Wow, it's a lot to unpack in this, but I realized in that moment, and then it was confirmed in the pressers, that Wilkes' only imprint on this defense is the blitzes. That's all he was allowed to bring. That's all he was allowed to bring. What people don't realize is that with those blitzes means that the defensive line can't do the stunts. They can't pursue the way that they're used to pursuing. So says Nick Bosa, right? We're usually a 4 rush team, right? Not this year. It's because they can't stunt. They can't do what they want to do because they have to keep gap integrity for the people coming in on blitzes, whether it's coming up the middle, whether it's coming on the outside of them. Now these defensive linemen are being told to just go in one direction. It's not freedom to throw your guy to the side and spin and make another move and go, because you got to worry about who's coming from behind you on these blitzes. So this is Wilkes trying to say, hey, I do have some say on this defense, and it's not working. Why Gibson wasn't back as the last line of defense is beyond me. The Vikings were using timeouts. They're showing you we're going to try to at least get into scoring position. They're telling you exactly what they're doing. They weren't just trying to go into the half and say, all right, we got a lead here. Let's protect the lead and go in. They were using timeouts, and they're telling you, they're telegraphing, we are trying to score. Somehow, some way, we're trying to score. Get a big chunk play, spike the ball, kick a field goal, something. We wanted points going into the half. That's what the Vikings were telling you. For you to not have a safety back there to protect in case of your corner slipping or something is beyond me. I will say the first interception by Ward was more of him ripping the ball away from the receiver. This one hit him in his chest, arms, hands, and the receiver reversed it on him. You got one from me, I'm taking this one back from you. There should have been help there. There should have been help there. I wasn't mad at Ward for the play he attempted to make on the ball. You're feeling yourself. You got one earlier. You get wide-eyed. Oh, this one's coming right to me. And it was there. It was there. He had it. But for whatever reason, this was his ball. That was his ball. More so than the one that he actually came down with. I'm not mad at Ward for what he attempted to do there. Now, could he have just batted it down? He could have just smacked it down. That's fine. But again, you get wide-eyed. Those opportunities don't come often. He tried to make a play. I'm not mad at him for trying to make that play. What I am mad at is Gibson not being there and blitzing as many people as he did was absolutely
To be
insane.
fair to Gibson, though, he was carrying Powell in the slot. So there was 3 receivers that came out on the route, 4 in coverage. So Warner had the short zone underneath. Diamador Lenore had the outside receiver. Ward obviously had Addison, and then Powell was lined up in the slot. And as soon as he passed Fred Warner handed him off to Gibson. So there was nobody back deep. But I don't want to be too mad at Gibson, because Gibson was covering who he was supposed to cover in that situation. I think personally, I think the play call was dog shit. But I'm sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to.
I took that as Mike saying Gibson was put out of position. Like he by design was not there. Yeah, not that he made the wrong decision.
That's fair.
Go ahead, Mike. Continue.
Right. No, that's exactly what it is. Right. Just a terrible play call. You can't make that call in that moment when the Vikings are telling you we are trying to score. You can't do that. You can't do it. The defensive line, they're not confused. They don't like all these blitzes. They don't like it. We're not allowed to be the linchpin of the team, which is what we've been since John Lynch got here. That John Lynch has made an emphasis on defensive linemen, drafting them in the first round, drafting them in the second round, drafting them in the third round. He's constantly doing it and investing big money in those guys, paying Nick Bosa what they paid him, getting Hargrave in the offseason. This is what you guys brought us here for. And then you say, well, no, never mind. Don't worry about it because we can blitz. It doesn't make any sense. You don't need to blitz if you got a good defensive line. You don't need to blitz if you have a good defensive line and you're not allowing these guys to go out there and play the way that they're supposed to be playing. Yeah. That's on Wilks. That is 100% on Wilks, and it's because he's got to say, I did bring something to the table. I did bring something to the table, and it's not of value. Sorry, it's not. You're messing up the entire chemistry of the defense.
Yeah,
for the most part, for the most part, the corners are where they're supposed to be. It's not often you see them get burned. We remember Diamador Lenore falling down, and that resulted in the big play the previous game, right? These guys are normally in the area they're supposed to be in. It's not like they're getting routed up and just getting shook out their boots or anything like that. That's not happening to these corners. They're playing solid ball. But when you're asking these guys, this guy's going to blitz on this play, this guy's going to blitz on the next one, we're sending 5, we're sending 6, it just doesn't make any sense, man. It doesn't make any sense. It's not adding up. And as much as we say Kirk Cousins cooked us, it was 22 points. Yeah. I know we're not here to critique the offense yet. We're still focusing on the defense, but it was 22 points. If this was our worst defensive performance of the year and it resulted in 22 points, there's some other blame to go around somewhere also.
I know there is, but 453 yards, giving up 8 of 13 on third down. My issue with, you're right, the corners aren't getting burned or anything like that, but the way that this scheme is run leaves them open in space. Teams to try to negate this pass rush are doing 2 things. They're max protecting and they're getting the ball out quick. And what happens when you max protect and you have all these blitzes is now you're leaving these corners out on an island. Even on that third down where they're zero blitzing or whatever, if you look, the corners are still like 8 yards off the ball. A lot of times in zero blitz, you're playing press man because you want to bump them off their spot to give the defense time to get home. They're letting them free run and get into their routes up the sideline. And then when this stuff happens, or when they throw it short and they work in space and cause one missed tackle, it turns into something where they can't catch up. Or it's you get a mismatch of like TJ Hawkinson on a Fred Warner who's slightly out of position because he's closer to the line of scrimmage, and it takes a 3rd and 8 and they get 12 on it. You know what I mean? Yeah, they're not technically out of position in terms of like they're going to give up a big play, but they got to try to run up and make a play from way far back. And it's just it doesn't mesh with me that you're going to be so aggressive in the front side of the defense and then so soft on the back side of the defense. You're just creating a huge amount of space in that middle area where the 49ers are getting chewed up every week. You know, the Vikings had the ball for 35 minutes. And the fact of the matter is, I don't care who you are, your offense is going to have a hard time being on balance when you're playing from behind and trying to come and get these quick hitters and try to score quickly because your defense is just having extended time out on the field because they can't get off the field on third down. Trust me, there's plenty of blame to go around, and we're going to get into the second topic too, but the defense no, the scoring defense wasn't that bad. But the fact of the matter is they did not do themselves any favors getting off the field. It was just okay, I'm gonna try to blitz. So 45 dropbacks for Kirk Cousins. Whether they rushed 4, whether they rushed more than 4, whether they blitzed, whether they didn't blitz, they got 0 sacks. They got 1 quarterback hit, 0 sacks. That's pathetic. That's pathetic. And to me, that means that whatever Steve Wilkes is bringing to the table, throw that shit in the trash. You know what I mean? That's like a relative bringing fruitcake over for the holiday meal. Nobody wants that shit. Throw it away. All you had to do was not fuck this thing up, and you're fucking it up. It's a very all you had to do is be a caretaker for this top 3 defense. The talent is there. All you got to do is shut the fuck up and get out of the way. What do you guys do? I mean, I don't normally do that, but hey, you guys have more success than me. Obviously, I just got shit canned again, from being a head coach with Arizona and had to go be a coordinator again. I'm trying to work my way back up. Right, rather than ride the wave of success, he's trying to swim against the current, and it doesn't make any sense. So to me, yes, the players obviously bear responsibility. They're out there making plays. I'm never gonna blame the coaches entirely because they set forth what they're supposed to do. The players got to execute. But a lot of times this defense looks fucking confused out there, and they don't look like they're enjoying what they're doing. And they don't. To me, the players know. They know what's probably going to work and what's not. And I feel like they're not having success with it because it's not what they're used to, and it's not what they feel like they're built to do. Like Mike said, no stunts, no letting the D linemen cook on their own. Instead of taking away all that space, if you rush 4 and you drop 7 in coverage, now you're bringing all these guys up there and creating space for the quarterbacks to get the ball out early. You're making it easy mode on all these quarterbacks. And it's no wonder that even the shittiest quarterbacks like Joshua Dobbs and PJ Walker have some relative level of success against the 49ers. The quarterback that had the slowest time to throw against the 49ers was Kenny Pickett, and he looked absolutely terrible against this team. Every other quarterback the 49ers have faced have thrown faster than league average time to throw. And why is that? Because there's a ton of space out there for them to work with. And time to throw is not everything, but it's not nothing either. And this defense has to figure it out because they got another tough task ahead of them. If you Amari Cooper gets off, Jordan Addison gets off. Who the fuck is he? We got all these guys. We had another one get off against us. Puka Nacua gets off against us. You're going to get a 100-yard receiver against this 49ers team, and you got to pick your poison. Is it going to be Jamar Chase? Is it going to be T. Higgins? Better figure it out because it's coming, and this is going to be a tough ask for a defense that seems like they're reeling right now.
I just want to say that I don't think the defense looks confused at all. The reason you see so much communication going on before the snap of a ball is to remind everybody, like, hey, don't forget, you can't do X, Y, and Z because someone's coming from behind you. And they have to communicate that so much. It's more of a thinking defense than reacting, which is what our bread and butter was. I used to watch all 22 from years past, and you could just tell where the ball was going, even if you couldn't see the ball, because the entire defense would swarm in that direction. You would just see a shift, like zoom. You remember the little magnet games that we used to play with when we were kids? All the little magnets, and you touch it, and you see all the magnets, just the little like sand. They look like sand, and all the little grains run to one side. You don't see that now. You don't see it. If a play goes to the right, the left side of the defense is just standing around like, oh, well, that's on that side. That's not what my responsibility was. And they're over communicating now because they have to remember so many new things. That's not how this defense was built. They got dogs to go after the quarterback and play the run in stopping the pass. Now it's the exact opposite. It's the exact opposite. And by the way, you said that it was only 3.5 yards a carry. It didn't look that way in the first half. It looked like they were having success running the ball. Right? And I was thinking, thank God they stopped running the ball so much, because otherwise it would have been an embarrassing performance for the Niners. That guy looked like fucking Adrian Peterson out there. Yeah, he looked like Adrian Peterson in the first half. Like, what are we doing? Yeah. But then they you know what? They're going to give us all this space. We're going to take advantage of it. Yeah. And that's what they did. What
bugs me the most too is the lack of adjustments. Right? They were hitting screen pass after screen pass after screen pass. And Steve Wilkes apparently is just sitting up there in the booth saying, that's a good call. It's like, do something, bro. Like you're fully aware this is happening. Nobody's within 7 to 10 yards of this running back. He's got 3 linemen in front of him. you're not. And then, okay, so on top of all of that, missed tackles. I think this defense had 12 missed tackles like yesterday, something crazy like that, in the double digits.
I thought it was 9. Was
9.
it 12? Did it get that high?
Maybe it was 9. I think I saw for the last 2 games it's at 19.
Still, no, that because they missed 18 against Cleveland.
Oh shit! Okay,
they missed 18 against Cleveland.
I'll have to find the stat. But yeah, so no lack of adjustments really frustrated me. And it just seems like, I wrote in my notes here, when does Nick Bosa's holdout end? Because apparently he's not out there. And does anybody know when Javon Hargrave reports for duty? I heard he was a nice free agency signing. There is way too much fucking money being spent on the defensive line specifically to allow an offense to just render you ineffective. Nick Bosa goes afterwards, and I'm going to play a clip right now of him at the press conference. I'm going to play 2 of him. He goes, they were chipping me. They're double teaming me. Do we not think TJ Watt gets chipped? Do we not think Myles Garrett gets double teamed? Like, these are players that opposing offenses game plan around. They're called game wreckers for a reason. It's not like they're no-name players that come in and wreck the game, and offensive coaches are like, who is that guy? We should have planned for him. No, they're fully aware who this guy is, and he still does it. It's like Jerry Rice and Joe Montana. It's the most lethal and demoralizing shit when you know exactly what the opponent is going to do, and he does it anyway. You just can't stop it. Nick Bosa, he's a one-trick pony this season, and all he has is a bull rush. And once that stopped, he's just like, shit, all right. And there were a few times where he almost got to Kirk, but almost getting there and getting there is not the same thing. Go ahead, Mike.
Chip, slide, and then you got to take advantage of your op, right? So that's what his quote was, if I'm not mistaken. And so what that means is they're chipping me, they're sliding protection to me, they're chipping me, they're sliding protection, but then when I get my opportunity, I got to take advantage of it. Nick Bosa shouldn't have to think about when his opportunity is. The defensive mindset before, again, the all gas, no brakes, we got these guys here to go in one direction, right? They were saying that when they signed D Ford, right? We brought him in here to do one thing and one thing only, right? The fact that Nick Bosa looks at it as this play isn't my opportunity, 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 this is my opportunity. And he's saying, well, when I get my opportunity, I got to take advantage of it. That shouldn't be his mindset at all. That should not be Nick Bosa's mindset. Previously, it was every play is an opportunity. Every play is an opportunity. Now it's like, well, got to follow what the system is calling for right now. I mean, you got to pull it up there. I'll shut up. You guys can hear it. But it's very, very telling. When you have this kind of defensive line, you're not supposed to have to depend on blitzing. Blitzing is designed to manufacture pressure when you can't successfully get it with your defensive line. Right now, you're not allowing the defensive line to do it, and you're calling blitzes when you don't know if it's necessary.
Yeah. So here is Nick Bosa afterwards.
Getting off to a 5-0 start, you kind of get that confidence that we are who we need to be, and but NFL does that. It's good players, good schemes, and we're going to face another good team this week. So we got to be ready. Getting off to a 5-0 start.
Sorry about that. It's not the clip I had in mind.
Get that confidence that.
I think what was most interesting to me is not only what he said, but what he didn't say. Here's the correct. Let me pull this up. Shout out to KNBR. Bear with me, guys. Live show. All right.
Not used to it.
This is him being asked about the 49ers blitz-heavy defense.
It definitely works out sometimes. I'm not used to it. We're usually a rush 4 kind of team, and it's a little different this year. But yeah, I don't know.
That was awkward, right?
But he seems really fucking happy with that defensive scheme, doesn't he?
Yeah. I mean, he literally had to stop himself from talking.
More crowded when he's rushing too. Yeah, notice like a lot of times he's going out further wide than he normally does, and I feel like that's because there's too many people eating up space where he likes to work.
Yeah.
You know, some of his sacks came on busted protections or whatever, but he was much closer to being toward the guard side of the tackle than he was trying to like beat him out wide. Sometimes he'll like to do that outside move and then you know, swim him inside, but I feel like it's too congested and it's leaving the 49ers vulnerable. So
if I had to ask you guys right now off the top of your head how many sacks he has this season, you probably already know.
I already know it's 2.5.
2.5 sacks. 2.5 sacks. I saw people saying we're paying him TJ Watt money. We're paying him Myles Garrett money. We're paying him, you know, and actually you're not. We're not. We're paying him more than that because they're playing for those players. The Niners made Bosa the highest paid player, non-quarterback ever. So they're actually paying more for this. And look, like Matt said, it's like the talent changed overnight. The talent was here. And I think you made a perfect point about the fruitcake. It's like, hey, I asked you to come over here and make the mashed potatoes. You came and put my fucking steaks in the oven. You know, like, what are you doing? Like, don't touch my steaks. The steaks were fine. The defensive line was perfect. You're supposed to come over here and guru the shit out of our secondary.
You're the fucking secondary guy.
Yes,
exactly.
You're the secondary guru. Teach them how to pick and how not to get, you know, burnt, basically. And what are you doing touching the defensive line and the linebackers? Because that was never a problem. That was always great. It was always fantastic. Never had an issue there. I don't know, man. I don't know. There was another clip. I thought I had it, Bosa talking about how he needs to be the player and ultimately that, you know, he can't allow, maybe this might be it. Him talking about how they were lulled to sleep. If not, it's a good enough clip anyway, so I'll play it.
All out quick switches don't get a lot of opportunities. But you guys feel like as a D line right now that you play like your standard?
No. I mean, we have a lot of really good players on the D line, and obviously a lot invested in it, and you have to make the plays when they're there. You kind of get lulled to sleep by some of the protections, and when those ops come, you have to be ready for them. And I'm not sure how it went for the other three guys. I could only focus on myself, and there was definitely a couple opportunities there where I could have changed the game, and I needed to do that with the kind of player I'm supposed to be.
So, yeah, frustrating to watch. I think he's frustrated for sure.
Of course he's frustrated. You listen, whether or not he wasn't in training camp or whatever, you can't tell me that Nick Bosa became shitty overnight. Something's going on. That goes beyond the sum of the parts. That goes beyond the individual pieces. And I think that you definitely have to get to a point where you got to start looking around and going, okay, Bosa's still here. Armstead, Warner, yeah. Hufanga, yeah. Ward was here. Lenore was here. Greenlaw was here. I mean, we got a new guy, Javon Hargrave, but that like he's good. What's different? What is oh yeah. Entirely different scheme. Coach is sitting in a box rather than being on the field to hype his dudes up, right? Can't in real time get to everybody, right? Because when you're up in the box, it's not like you can go, hey, I need the secondary here right now. Entire secondary, I need you here right now. And we see that with a lot of defensive coaches. We saw that with Saleh. We saw that with Ryans, where he'd pull an entire position group aside when they made a mistake and either chew their ass or try to give them motivation. And we're not getting that from Wilkes. He's just sitting there up in the box with his fucking readers on, looking at the fucking play sheet, not reacting at all. And it's I don't know, man. The players got to play for sure, but they just don't look like they like this system and that this system is working for them.
Yeah. Agreed.
I keep seeing people talking about a players only meeting, right? It's not necessary, because a players only meeting is when guys aren't doing what they're asked. This team, I almost feel like the defense is like, hey, this is what you want to call? We're going to run it. We might not like it, but we're going to do what you're asking us to do until you see that this isn't the right thing to ask us to do. It's a players only meeting is to motivate the players and say, hey, we got to be better. We got to be better. What they aren't going to do is just completely buck the system and say, we're going to call our own defense.
Right.
They're not going to do that. So a players only meeting isn't necessary. What does need to happen, though, is some of the leaders of the defense pull the coaches aside and say, hey, these are some changes that we think will help. These are some of the things that we need to see happen in order for us to be better at what we're here to do. It's not a player thing. These guys are doing what they're being told to do. And if you don't believe me, I know a lot of people swear by PFF. Go look at Nick Bosa's PFF grades. While all of us watching are disappointed with Nick Bosa's production this year, PFF has him ranked as one of the highest graded defenders this entire year, right? They're doing it based off of analytics and what he's doing with the guy in front of him. He's doing what he's supposed to do, what he's being told to do. Two very different things as far as production and doing what I'm being told to do.
I agree with you. Symmetry 7 has a comment that says, no, Mike, a players only meeting can also be talking about how they can all fit the system without the confusion. You know what, on second thought, with the way that Mike explained it to me, I don't think they're confused. I think they're trying to communicate to all the stuff that they're supposed to be doing. But I do think that something is coming. Just because in years past, if a defense didn't have the type of performance they wanted them to have, Kyle would be like, oh, really? I wasn't really, I was caught up in the whole game, this and this and that. He didn't do that this time. He said, we are going to talk about this. I did not like the result. That to me says that even Kyle is like, hey, there's some shit going wrong here. And I think it's because, now if you guys are ready to transition over, I think that's because it's starting to affect his offense.
Yes. Yep. Mm-hmm.
In that they're not balanced. They're not very balanced at all. Yeah. This is the first time. So they threw up a stat. It was like midway through the third quarter, into the fourth quarter, something like that. The first 6 games of the season, they trailed for 10 minutes and 40 seconds or something like that. In this game, they had trailed for like 40 minutes of the game time.
Yep. Basically the whole game. And so you're asking, you're getting away from football, right? No Jordan Mason carries. You got one Elijah Mitchell carry. Christian McCaffrey averaged 3 yards per carry. And that's taking out that, I think it was a 9-yard touchdown or whatever it was. They were not able to run the ball. And I think that we're getting into a whole issue here, which I do blame on John and Kyle, but we'll stick to this right now. You cannot put the ball in the hands of Brock Purdy at this point in his career. Yes. It's too early. He's not ready. Thank you. That's my whole point.
He's not. I don't know, Mike. I know you're asking this elite thing. To me, he's going to be good to very good. I don't see him as like a top 5 guy ever. That's just not what he's supposed to be. And so you have this system that you're supposed to be running, right? It's the Kyle Shanahan system. It's supposed to be great. And Brock's running it better than everybody else. And he had a really, really good first 3.5 quarters in terms of like what he was actually able to do with the ball. He actually was very efficient. Those last 2 interceptions, though, were dog shit. And he's got to do better than that.
Yeah.
He's got to do better than that. And was the route by Juwan Jennings a little lackadaisical? Did he make a move to the outside that he didn't need to make? It looked like he let up on the route. Sure. Man, that throw was like 7 yards too far in front of him, and he was just thrown to a spot. And I get that he throws with, we call big A anticipation in a lot of ways. This, I don't think, was one of those because he was literally throwing to a spot. He's like, all right, I know where this route is supposed to go. I'm going to throw it to that spot. To me, that's not anticipation. That's following what the play is. And he needed to adjust with his eyes when he saw the route that Jennings was running. He needed to adjust that ball, and he did not adjust that ball. And the second thing he did on the second interception, and that he did with the trying to throw out of the sack, he does not play within the physical capacity of his talent. He tries to do more than what he is physically capable of doing at times, and he's got to learn to live to fight another down. There was no reason to force that ball into double coverage to Ray McLeod. He could have, stepped up. He could have thrown it at somebody's feet. He could have thrown it out of bounds as soon as he broke the pocket. He could have done any number of those things with, 30 seconds left. And yeah, it's 3rd down now, but guess what? An interception's worse because game over. You could have lived for another down. And we'll get to coaching because that's bad. But like, I'm just To me, you cannot have the lack of balance on offense that you're leaving this game in Brock Purdy's hands like that.
Even that one play that you're talking about, that last interception, 30 seconds, no timeouts left, nowhere near the sideline.
Dagger concept.
Like,
I know. I was going to get to that. I fucking hate that play call too, and that's on Kyle.
Right. That play call in and of itself was very like
screwed him.
Wilk's second half play call, right? Like it was like, what are you doing there? Even if it was a completed pass, let's just pretend for a second they got that we would have got back up to the line of scrimmage and tried to spike that ball. It'd have been 18 seconds, 12 seconds left. Like it was just not a good play call. It was not a good play call in that moment, in that situation. And it's weird. And the other play that you were talking about, the one to Jennings, right? He admitted, I got shifted to the side and I just threw the ball. Damn it, what did he say at the presser? He said, I got shifted to the side and I should have adjusted. Like he took onus for that. I liked hearing him.
He said JJ did his job correctly.
Yes,
right.
He protected Juwan Jennings, but Juwan Jennings let up on that fucking route too. That was a shitty break.
He widened it at the top where he didn't need to. He's playing in zone and he's running it like he's playing against man. You know, like there's no need to widen at the top. Like I guarantee you, if it's Debo or Ayuk running that route, it's a perfect 90-degree cut, and the ball. Maybe it's still in front of them, but they at least have a fighting chance to get it. You know what I mean? Like it's not 4 to 6 yards away from them like JJ was. So that was frustrating. I think also with the offense and a lot of the shit that we saw, to touch on what Matt started with, the whole point that I was just told for the past year and a half is a young quarterback can succeed in this system because they have so many offensive stars. They have a dominant defense. They have a fantastic running game, and they have Kyle Shanahan calling plays. Well, the defense was dog shit. You're out one of your stars, 2 if you want to count Trent. I'm talking about playmakers. So you're out Debo. Running game wasn't there. Kyle's calling shitty plays, and yet we're saying this is proof that Purdy isn't it. What other quarterbacks are held to this standard in like their 14th regular season start? What other quarterbacks are being told, if you cannot put the team on your back, down multiple scores, when the defense can't get off the field to save their lives, then you're not good enough? You know,
I mean, listen, that's cool, but when I give him his plaudits for doing well, I'm also going to criticize him for those throws because those throws were bad.
No, I'm not talking about.
I get it on a national
should be
stage,
criticized.
And there was a comment in here earlier where somebody was like, "Yeah, everybody just blames the defense, nothing on Kyle and Purdy." I'm like, dude, do you watch any of the national talking heads? They're all talking about how Purdy is trash.
Yeah.
Grant Cohn is like, hey, Brock Purdy needs to be benched if he doesn't play well in his next game. Yeah. Right, Zach? Is that not the
that's the talking point? So also, I just want to address this. I was told he was Joe Montana. Why did you listen? You could be told anything. The only comparison is because of draft status and even a modicum of success early on.
Listen,
that's it.
I guess I got to do this as a dad. If somebody told you to jump off the Brooklyn Bridge, would you do it? So what? They told you it was Joe Montana. Okay. Like, you're going to listen to, you're going to listen to Stevie Wonder tell you what color a rainbow is? Like, you don't know? Just look with your own eyes. That's the thing. Real quick, just a nod because I've seen it in here a couple times, and I don't want any spoilers. Mark Cisneros, yes, that is 19 inches of venom behind me in the Spider-Man 2 box. I haven't taken the statue out yet because I don't have a spot up here. As you can see, it's full of bobbleheads and baseballs and stuff. I need to make room for it. And then the other person, see Spider-Man PS5 back there. Fire game. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. No spoilers. I'm only a little bit into it, please. I'm a dad now, so I only get to play like little bits at a time. So my days of mainlining games are over. But yeah, like I'm gonna blame Purdy when he doesn't play well. Yeah. That's just how it is. But I got plenty of blame for everybody else too. Yeah. CMC got to be better at hanging on to the football. Brandon Ayuk needs to be used more. So that's on Kyle. There was a play that I actually liked. It was Ross Dwelly's only completion of the game. It was like a middle screen. Yep. I like that play. Why are we not doing more of that stuff? You have a carbon copy of what people are telling you to do on the opposite side of the ball with good pass rush. And you're not necessarily playing good pass rush. I get it. You're looking at the film. But guess what? You and John Lynch decided, you know what we could use? More defensive line. You know what we can say fuck off to? The offensive line. Colt McKivitz sucks. I'm sorry, Mike. I know we talked about they had a solution in the building. No, it's not a solution. It's a bigger problem than Mike McGlinchey was. It makes me want Mike McGlinchey back in this building, and that makes me sick to my stomach. McKivitz stinks. Gave up 6 pressures according to PFF, but absolutely laid on Daniil Hunter on that sack of Brock Purdy.
3-man blitz.
Just Brock Purdy should not have to be stepping up all the time and trying to run out of the pocket to try to make. He had a couple of rollouts and scrambles. One was a nice play. I believe it was to Juwan Jennings, where like it looked like he was going to run past the marker, and then he fired it to. It was either Juwan Jennings or George Kittle, one of the two. But that shouldn't be the norm. And over the past 3 or 4 weeks, he's looked like he's been running for his life on multiple occasions. Like, where is the clean pocket for him to throw from? It's not looking good. That, Jalen Moore, bless his heart, he tried to do the best he could, but it just goes to show how good Trent Williams is. They neglected this offensive line, and it's coming back to bite them in the ass when they need the protection the most, because then they're out there running out bums like fucking Ray McLeod, who's soft as Charmin. He is a cloud. I don't understand why Ronnie Bell can't get any run, who would be probably more physical. Yeah, might make some mistakes or whatever, but any worse than what Ray is doing? Ray is a nobody. What has he done for this team? Nothing. So why not see what you got? No side of the ball played well. The only person I could say had a good game was George Kittle with 5 catches for 78 yards.
And
that was about it.
And Brandon
Ayuk. I'll give Brandon Ayuk, but some of that scheme for sure. But then how much of that is Brandon Ayuk not getting open in the second half?
No. There were no targets. There were no targets for Brandon Ayuk.
Right, but are you going to target him if he's not open? That's my thing.
He's the best receiver on the field. Yes. Listen,
you got to force that.
This second half pissed me off so much. We were never down 3 scores. You know what? Like, it was never to a point where you had to abandon what made you good. Kyle, you can be mad at that second half, the end of the first half whiff and all that stuff. You're off. This is what you were brought in to do. Do something. Your defense is letting you down, then put up some fucking points, dude. 17 points. I get it. I counted, I think, 2 drives where the Niners didn't get into scoring position. One was a punt, and one was an early turnover or something like that. The interception, I believe it was. There were 2 of them where they couldn't quite make it to field goal range, right? 17 points ain't enough. I get it. You missed the field goal. I get it. You missed 8 possessions. 2 times you weren't in position to score. Doesn't make any sense. The math ain't mathing.
But here's the thing, though. What was the time of possession in the second half? Like, they almost never had the ball. And by the time you're getting to the point where you get those last 2, listen, you got a turnover on the first drive, and then you got a turnover on the last 2 drives. First drive, sure, that sucks, whatever. The entire middle of the game, they're moving the ball down the field, and they're trying to score. You got missed field goal, then you have touchdown. Then you have field goal, and then touchdown or whatever. So they're moving the ball, right? At the end of the game, you're asking Brock Purdy with no fucking running game, with no timeouts because the clock management was dog shit, right? You're running out of timeouts. You're asking Brock Purdy to make a bunch of plays with an offensive line that can't fucking block. And then you wonder why, maybe Ayuk's not being targeted, or maybe these guys aren't doing this or doing that. But a lot of that's on the defense. Why are you giving up 453 yards? People want to say 3 offensive turnovers. Yeah, at the end, 2 at the end of the game when they were already down. Well, okay, I guess, but yes, the one on the second to last drive, that was a backbreaker. That last interception to end the game, dude's trying to make a play because they got no timeouts, and it was a shit play call. You're running dagger concept in the fourth quarter with 30 seconds left and no fucking timeouts. What are you doing? Ayuk was on a streak up the side. Why not try to throw the 9 route? If it's not there, just fucking sail it over his head and throw it out of bounds.
Yeah.
Or try to draw a fucking flag. Every other team in the NFL does it. They do it against us.
Purdy does it.
Every week, yeah. Like, just play for the flag. It stops the clock. You move the ball. Like, do something.
Yeah.
Like, and this, I'm not blaming Purdy. I am focusing on Kyle. I am focusing on Kyle. Purdy wasn't perfect. I don't expect him to be. I never expected him to be. So
me neither, but I'm blaming him for those last two throws. I got to critique him for the decisions that he made. Those throws were his decision, but the play calling, I'm with you, was dog shit, and Kyle has to do better.
Yeah, absolutely. I just don't understand the lack of like creativity. It's almost like we pack it up like, oh, well, this one's over. And I just don't get it. We got to look like we're trying to win, but this one was over. Like the language of the offense was bad. And I think you're going to start seeing something. We've mentioned this play over and over. The sack on Purdy was a 3-man rush. Everyone was thinking, oh, this kid's young, Mr. Irrelevant. He's a rookie, hasn't played 16 games yet, blah, 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 right? Instead of blitzing him and giving him a ton of opportunities to dink and dunk you and take advantage of it, because that's what you would assume Kyle can do. Don't rush a lot of people and now muddle up the secondary where he's trying to throw the ball to. And now you get to see who he is and what he can do. And I think that's going to be the game plan for a lot of teams going forward. I think a lot of teams are going to say the exact opposite of blitzing. We're going to keep more people in that secondary and make them have to find them. Make Purdy have to find the right guy. We'll see, but I really think that's what's going to happen.
I want to address this comment real quick, and then we'll get into more critiques. But a lot of people have apparently sky-high expectations for Brock Purdy because Kyle once called him the real deal. I've also seen that. Kyle said a lot of shit, right? And Purdy has played well. Purdy played well the last year. There is every reason for Kyle Shanahan to have full belief in Purdy going into this year. And still, I don't think what he showed in the past 2 weeks should waver his confidence in Brock Purdy, right? He had a pretty fantastic start to the season, faced the number 1 passing defense without his top 2 weapons the last week on the road, had a rough outing, just about any quarterback would. And then yesterday played well for like 3.75 quarters. And it just so happened that he made 2 bad decisions. So here it is. Because Kyle himself said he was the real deal. Does this mean that in your brain, you think, I don't have to allow this quarterback any time to develop. He needs to be perfect day one because Kyle told me he's the real deal. Like, if you were willing to allow said other quarterback, who I won't name, number 5, who's no longer here, a season or 2 to develop, and you were willing to lose games, possibly miss the playoffs, why are you not granting Purdy even a modicum of that same grace? You know what I mean? Like, why not even allow him to learn on the job when his version of learning on the job, the 49ers are 5-2 after 7 games, and they were in position to be 7-0 in both games. It makes no sense to me how that's taken as, okay, then put him to the highest standard, and if he doesn't meet it, he's not good enough.
And aside from all of that, which I agree with, aside from all of that, tell me one time Kyle has went to the podium and said that his starting quarterback wasn't the guy.
Yeah.
How many times did Kyle try to sell us on Jimmy over and over? I think Jimmy's one of the best in the NFL. I think Jimmy's one of the best passers ever. I think Jimmy Garoppolo is this, Jimmy Garoppolo's that. And year after year, they were trying to get away from Jimmy. So we got to stop with the whole, oh, well, Kyle said this about one guy, so he's the guy and he's perfect. Like, that's not what it means. It means I have confidence in the guy that's out there to execute the plays that I'm going to call for him. And Kyle should have that confidence. His job as the offensive coordinator is to figure out what does and does not work for the players and then go out there and call the plays that do work so they can execute it. So he's going to say he's the real deal. He's going to say that Jimmy Garoppolo was good. The couple of times where it was Trey Lance, we have all the confidence in Trey Lance we're supposed to have. Those are what he says. Those are the comments. He said it about Nick Mullins and CJ Beathard, guys. Like, stop it with the whole, like, oh, well, he said this. Like, he's going to say that. He's not going to go up to the podium and be like, yeah, well, my quarterback is pretty terrible, so I'm just going to, see what we can muster up this week.
Right.
He's not going to do that.
All right. Matt, you have anything to add?
And here's the thing. Coaches say that shit all the time. Doug Peterson said that when he was, about Trevor Lawrence. Mike McDaniel said that about Tua. Like, you're all going to say that your dude is the real deal until he's not your dude, right? Like, that's
saying it about Zach Wilson.
Man.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And Robert Saleh, by the way, was, there were reports that the locker room was pissed with him because he was ride or die with Zach Wilson because he had to be. What are you supposed to do? Are you just supposed to like dunk on your dude? Again, I say it all the time. You can be supportive of your quarterback in public while absolutely taking a shit on him in practice and in film room.
Yeah.
Like it's not for us. So yeah, Kyle said that out in public, but we all have no idea what goes on behind. And actually, I probably feel like I have a better idea than some because he's probably chewing them out.
Yeah.
When he makes mistakes, better believe that he chews them out.
Oh yeah. Yep.
So I don't know, man. It's just that whole thing is wild. But yeah, I mean, I don't think any phase of the ball play. Mitch Wishnowsky and George Kittle maybe had good games, and that was it.
Yeah. Yep.
Everything else was trash. Even Warner missed tackle, whatever. Although he did have that sweet power bomb on Kirk Cousins.
That was
pretty sweet.
The answer to the tush push. Also, the lineup. Did you see the way they? Yeah,
correctly.
Yeah, that was very nice. I like that. I posted on X after. I keep wanting to say tweeted, but I posted on X after, and this is how I truly feel. Right, so many what ifs. If McCaffrey doesn't fumble on the opening drive, if Moody makes his first kick, it's a 2-point game going into the last possession. You need 3, not a touchdown. If Ward hangs on to the pick before half, if Purdy doesn't throw 2 bad passes in the middle of the field, that's just football. That's just the way the ball bounced Monday night, right? Like on top of that, it just happened to be Kirk Cousins' career night. His whole narrative going into this game was this dude sucks on primetime. He's like 2-10 on primetime. He's ass. What are the chances that last night he literally couldn't miss? Like outside of the first throw, he could not miss. He was making throws with the defender down his pause. I was going to say down his throat, but he was hitting receivers he had no business hitting, even ones that they couldn't catch, like that third down throw to KJ Osborne. It was just the worst combination of bad play calling on defense, Kirk Cousins on fire, Kevin O'Connell, perfect play calling, the 49ers missing Debo, the 49ers not having Trent, and maybe we need to have a conversation. I think we've had it already, but Kyle's a little too dependent on McCaffrey. I think we can all agree with that, right? Like there's no answer outside of McCaffrey, which bugs me the most because we're told this offense has so many stars. You got Kittle. Everybody's got to name them. It's like you're legally obligated to name all the stars anytime you start talking about the offense. Well, when one goes down, it's like, oh shit, how do we move the ball? How do we get 5 yards? How do we get a first? It's like I posted also, how many offenses would kill just to have George Kittle and Brandon Ayuk? Just them two. That's better than probably half of what the league has. They're toting out every Sunday. So he gets too focused, man. And he needs to figure it out.
Yeah, I was alarmed when you look at the number of touches that Christian McCaffrey has versus the rest of the offense. I think
it's over 100 more, right?
It's preposterous amount. I mean, I think he has more touches than everybody else on the team combined, and that's a problem. That's a problem. So they do gotta fix that. But I do think that we come on here and we're pissed about the loss, and we've hammered the defense, we've hammered Steve Wilkes, we've hammered Kyle, we've hammered Brock Purdy, we've gone on here and criticized everything that they're doing, and yet they have their 2 combined losses are by 6 points. So or 7 points, excuse me. 2 points to Cleveland, 5 points here. And like you said, Zach, Christian McCaffrey doesn't fumble, maybe they get a field goal. If Moody hits his, that's the whole deficit right there. You know what I mean? And then on top of that, the Ward. And so all this stuff went wrong. And as Mike pointed out, despite the fact, tons of yards, couldn't get off the field, only 22 points. This team is still in position, but they got to get it right. They got to get right quick. I saw something that this is the first time the 49ers have lost 2 in a row since week 6 and 7 last year.
Yeah.
So
how convenient.
And then apparently Kyle's October record. October is his worst month as a head coach.
I have the numbers. You want to hear this?
Yes.
So September, he's 12-10 with a .545 winning percentage. October, he's 13-18. It is the only month he's under 500, .419. In November, he's 11-9, .550. In December, he's 17-10, .629. And in January, he's 4-1, which I don't know how that's true because he's lost 2 championship games. So that should probably be 4-2.
I think the one last year against the Eagles was in
February.
Oh, thank you. Okay. So these stats only went to January, but yeah. So October just so happens to be the only month he's under 500 win percentage. The 49ers also haven't won in Minnesota since 1992. And I want to credit somebody in the chat from the last show who was telling us that nonstop in the preview game. Like, guys, there's something here. There's some weird juju in Minnesota. We've been, we were 0-6 going back to 1992. We're now 0-7. It's like the fucking Jim Schwartz stat from the Browns game.
We all know that Kyle went to Steve Wilkes and said, hey, call a shitty game. I'm going to call a shitty game. Bet, homie. That way, in this offseason, when Kirk Cousins is a free agent, I can just, come on, Kirk. Brock Purdy's still my guy, but no, that's complete conspiracy theory. But yeah, the fact that we have such high expectations for this team, we can be so hypercritical at 5-2. I think it bodes well, particularly that the outcomes weren't too bad in terms of the margin of loss. They have to turn it around against Cincinnati, though. I do think that this was one of those things where you come off a big Sunday night football victory against the Cowboys, you come out flat on an East Coast 10 o'clock game in weather, and then the choice to go back to Santa Clara when they usually would stay out in Youngstown in between was maybe a mistake. Maybe that's something they readdress going forward. The 49ers, I can't remember what it was, but it's something like their schedule and their travel makes them down like 5 days of actual rest compared to the rest of the NFL. That there's something to that too, but they have to come out. Cincinnati looks like they're starting to get it sorted out, but they were ripe for the picking early in the season. Joe Burrow looked bad. They have an opportunity here to make a statement at home and go into the bye week feeling positive about themselves, because they come out of the bye week and it's just still more difficult football to play. So it'll be interesting to see how they do. But the fact that we can, criticize them so heavily, despite it not being maybe as bad in the score sheets, maybe there's something to that we can carry going forward.
That's true. We got a super chat here from our guy, Roberto Davis, paying too much money for the D-line to get 0 sacks. Agreed, brother. And the
worst part with all those blitzes is that there's one player that's not a defensive lineman that has 1 sack all year. Think about that for a second. There's only one player that is not a defensive lineman.
Just clicked.
That has a sack for the 49ers, and it's Fred Warner.
Yeah,
it's Fred Warner.
Against Dak, right?
All that blitzing is for nothing. It's for nothing. They're not getting home. Yeah. Let the defensive line be the fucking defensive line. And if you guys thought that 1992 stat was impressive, you guys should have seen what the one was for Cleveland. I mentioned it both times. I pointed out, I think it was like 1983 the last time the 49ers beat Cleveland in Cleveland. It's way worse than the 1992 thing. So it's insane. And I pointed those two things out, not saying, oh, well, I was more like, oh, here we go. We get to get it right now. Let's reset those clocks. Well, I was wrong, and it's less impressive with an AFC opponent because of how the schedules work. And you know what I mean? But still, 83, that's the year I was born. Like, come on. It's nuts. So.
So the schedule after this week, by the way, the Bengals are coming off a bye, so they're going to be well rested. They're going to be prepared. 49ers are coming off a short week. Fuck the NFL for doing that, by the way. How are you going to put a team that just came off a Monday night game on the road, have to travel back home, lose a day against a team on a bye, coming off a bye? I don't know how that worked out. But so they have the Bengals this week, then they have their bye week, and then they go to Jacksonville, and then they come back home for the Bucs. And then they have a Thanksgiving night matchup in Seattle. And then after that, they at least have a nice longer period to prepare for a back-to-back road trip to Philly. So Bengals, Jaguars, Bucs, Seahawks, and Eagles are the next 5. It's tough, man.
Tough stretch. They better get it right.
The only solace I take is the Eagles have an extremely tough stretch coming up with the Cowboys, Commanders, Niners, Bills, and Chiefs, or something like that. Not in that order, but off the top of my head. So,
well, there's some other things to take solace in, right? Matt talked about, what was it, 6-7 points or something like that. These 2 losses total, and it's I don't like playing the if this and if that game, right? But we are like just a tweak away from being 7-0. I'm not going to say that play should have happened or this play should have happened, but we just tweak something somewhere. And Here's the most impressive part about just tweak something somewhere. You can tweak a little something on the defensive side of the ball, we win those games. You can tweak a little something on the offensive side of the ball, we win those games. It's all correctable. The sky is not falling. It feels like it right now. Back-to-back losses after a 5-0 start. It feels like the sky is falling, and you could quickly start trending in the wrong direction. But the good thing is, regardless of the outcome of this game against the Bengals, we got the bye week coming. You got the bye week, and you really, really get to get yourself fixed. I don't know what Kyle's record is after a bye. It's probably close to 500 at this point. But I will say that we do have a lot of favorable things happening on the second half of the schedule. Once you get past this next game, once you get past this next game, Kyle, this team is not being destroyed. They're not being dog walked. Teams are so focused on playing us that they're doing little things to mock us before games. You see the teams coming out with the boom boxes in the theater and in the tunnels now and all that, right? Like they're doing things to try to get themselves amped up, and it's cool. Cleveland, congrats. You guys were the better team, right? Minnesota, congrats. You guys were the better team. But by a hair. Again, just one tweak on either side of the ball, and it's 7-0.
Yeah.
The sky isn't falling. It feels like it is, but I promise you guys, if you go outside and look up, it's right there. It's right there.
If we talked about this, and I like to do this to myself to put things in perspective, if I told both of you gentlemen in August, come October 24th, the 49ers would be 5-2, both of their losses coming in back-to-back games, total of 7 points. Purdy would have only thrown 3 interceptions. I think all three of us would take that, right? That's compared to the starts that the 49ers have had previously. That sounds good. Unfortunately, yes, they could have been 7-0. They could have been 6-1, but they're 5-2.
Sure. I do think that some cracks are showing in terms of depth. I think that the cornerback position is going to be a problem. Ward has shown that it looks like Lenore is the better overall corner. Ward is he's a risk taker, man, and that it's boom or bust with him. Like I said, he's going to have some good plays, but man, if I don't hear his number called for illegal contact or holding or something every week, he's very penalized. Lots of flags against him, and then the offensive line. And so I think that there is a problem with depth. And I want to ask you guys, is this the point? Is depth and not being able to address the O-line, is this where that Trey Lance trade actually starts to sting? Right? Because it's one thing if the player works out. Obviously, it didn't. They traded him away. So those picks are kind of a wash. But like this to me, I think of like, man, if only we would have had a first or a second round pick to try to replenish some of these positions that we knew we were going to lose in a Mike McGlinchey, that we knew we were going to lose in a Daniel Brunskill who went to Tennessee, like these areas where the 49ers didn't really address it. And really outside of Mike McGlinchey, who I believe was from the prior regime, what has this regime ever actually done draft wise for the offensive line? Nothing. They traded for Trent Williams. But they've not addressed this within the first, I think, four rounds of the draft. I think their highest round offensive lineman that they've picked is the 5th round.
Yeah.
Unless Banks, let me correct myself. Banks is a 2nd round pick. But, that's one guy. And yeah, he's starting. But McKivitz, 6th round pick, I believe. Right? Burford, 5th or 6th round pick.
Yeah.
5th. There's a reason why a Trent Williams is picked high. There's a reason why, especially with tackles, why tackles go high. Because if you hit on that tackle, it's really valuable. And I know that we talk about, being able to find diamonds in the rough and things like that, but they got to spend capital on these.
Yeah.
While Ted Ursa said McGlinchey. McGlinchey was the previous regime.
Yeah. No, he was.
No, McGlinchey was this team. We had Trent Brown.
Oh, you're right. That was one of the first drafts.
Okay. Yeah, that was
the
year.
Yeah, because that was the year we made the Super Bowl run, right?
That was the year. It was McGlinchey, and then they traded back up in the first for Reuben Foster.
Yeah.
Okay. I stand corrected.
Or no, wait.
No. Thomas and Foster were together.
It was Thomas and Foster, and then it was the following year.
Yeah,
they did
because it was Joe Staley was the whole big brother and shit, and yeah. I do think, Matt, to answer your question, I do think this
2018.
This is where we're seeing the lack of picks that they used to trade for Trey Lance, that they used to trade for Christian McCaffrey. It's coming back to bite them.
A long time, huh?
Yeah. 5 years or 7 years now, I think. They got hired in 2016, 2017.
All right. Well, I stand corrected because with McGlinchey, maybe they should stay out of the first round draft and tackle. Sorry.
But the problem is they didn't draft any last year. Knowing Trent's going to retire soon. You lost Michael McGlinchey to free agency. You lost Daniel Brunskill. And you're just like, we're good.
Yeah, they're definitely behind. They're definitely behind because Trent almost retired last offseason after the NFC Championship loss. And he was like, I'm going to think on it. Man, if it's another heartbreaking loss or they win it all, I think he's gone. I think he's done. So they're behind the 8 ball, though.
He's 35.
They needed to put more capital into it. I'm not going to hate on the Hargrave signing, but it's a lot like, it's just how much capital are you going to throw into this one position group at the cost of everywhere else? Yes.
It's like going into a trap house in the ghettoest part of town, and they got 100-inch TV with, like surround sound and the lights behind. It's like there's roaches on the floor, and it's like, bro, you focused on the wrong part, man. Like, you got to get out of here. What are you doing?
Yep. Hey, throwback. He's not the only one, bro. I said this all offseason that the O-line was that they needed to do something with it, and they did nothing, and it's just coming back to get them. And I don't think, week 13 is going to come up quick. And we've seen what these defensive lines have been able to get after Purdy. Man, I feel for Brock Purdy. He's going to get lit up for quite a bit of this season. I just don't think that the line is going to be able to hold up.
If they struggle against a 3-man rush from Minnesota, how the hell are they going to block Philly? It really is scary to think about. And I think after last night and after the Browns game, John Lynch is going to be heavily on the phones for the next 7 days. And we could talk about that in the next show. I think they make a trade. I think they're trying. I've heard, Tennessee's doing a fire sale. Maybe they get Brunskill back. We saw the Patriots trade for J.C. Jackson back. I think they make a trade. Maybe they get Brunskill back. I heard is it Garrett Bowles in Denver? They're fire selling as well too. There are pieces out there to be had. And somebody commented earlier, didn't Philly just acquire an all-pro safety? Yes, they're going to have Kevin Byard from Tennessee. So if it's an arms race,
and we actually know who he is, by the way.
Yeah. Why do you say that?
Oh, you don't know that story?
What that he picked?
There was talking heads, and Byard said something. I believe it was to actually. I think it was. I want to say, man, I don't want to say who it was. I believe it was Deion Sanders though. And whoever it was said, oh yeah, let me know when blah 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 you do this or that, like you don't even know football, this and that. And dude's like, yeah, I was an all-pro last year, bro. Look up I'll look it up.
Yikes. So the 49ers have fallen behind in the arms race. I see it here. Yeah, it was Deion Sanders.
Yeah, he'd like made some point and like tried to flex like, oh yeah, let me know when you get to the league or whatever. And Byard's like, dude, I was a fucking all-pro last year.
Yeah, so he called Tyrann Mathieu the best safety in the league. And Byard said, how do you make the statement not include the 2 first-team all-pro safeties? And yeah, you're looking at writers who tell you who's best. I know who players and former players feel is best. I rest my case. You continue to be a fan, and I will continue to be the man. Damn.
Yeah.
Hey, man.
And then Byard's like, bro, I was one of those too.
Yeah. Yeah, I see people saying Patrick Surtain. I don't think they're moving him. I don't think
they're moving him, and I don't think that it would be wise to give up what the Broncos would probably want to move him. You're much more likely to get. I don't know what the Broncos. I feel like you can get Jalen Johnson from the Bears for less, and the drop off wouldn't be that substantial.
You guys really think we need help in the secondary?
Yes.
I would feel a lot more comfortable if the pressure's not getting home. Yes.
Putting Diamador Lenore back in at the nickel spot So that way we didn't have to rely on Isaiah Oliver, who I'm not a fan of.
Okay.
But I think offensive line is far more critical. I would say corner is a distant second. I would burn the phones about replacing that entire right side of the offensive line.
And I agree with Keith Murphy here. People don't like to trade offensive linemen. That's why Denver should have questioned why the hell they were able to get Mike McGlinchey to some giant contract. Why the hell were the 49ers so okay with letting him walk? But it is what it is. I just think if we see those tiny little tweaks here and there, like Mike just referenced, and pressure does start to get home, secondary becomes less of an issue. Offensive line remains at the top of the list for me, though. And I think the last 2 weeks will force John Lynch to make a move. Hopefully it's not out of desperation and more so out of inspiration, but we'll see.
How mad are you guys going to be when we trade for another defensive lineman?
Right.
You know, I keep seeing Chase Young and Montez Sweat tied to the Niners. I wouldn't be as mad, right? Because if they're trying to solve the pressure problem in that way, but it's like, damn, man, you got a loaded defensive line here. You just acquired Randy Gregory. How much more help do you need? Really? How much more help do you need? At some point, it's not the components.
That's the thing, man. How many ingredients you need to make a nice dish? You know what I'm saying? Like, you got a bunch in there already. And just, again, when you focus so heavy on one group and pour so many resources into one group and neglect other groups that are of more of a need, I don't think that that's a sound way to build your team, because getting what are we going to get out of them? What's the expectation? Let's just say best case scenario, we get a Chase Young or a Brian Burns, or what does that translate to in per game numbers? And what does it matter if you can't keep Brock Purdy upright? Like, you think I give a shit about 2 or 3 more sacks a game if we can't keep Brock Purdy upright and scoring points or healthy? Like, do you think that sacks were a problem last year against Philadelphia, or the fact that our quarterback's arm exploded because he didn't get protected? What do you think is the bigger issue?
Yeah.
What you guys think in the chat? I'll wait.
Can I say real quick? There needs to be a fucking investigation into the Tennessee Titans. Why are they trading their stars to the Eagles for pennies on the dollar? They traded A.J. Brown for peanuts, and then they send fucking Kevin Byard over there for Terrell, who the hell knows, and a goddamn pack of planners. It's like, what is happening? Somebody's getting paid under the table, and I want an investigation into the Titans and Eagles relationship. If Howie Roseman, whatever the hell the Eagles GM calls you, don't answer the phone, because you're about to get fleeced. You're about to get raked over the coals, and you're going to get laughed at. And if he didn't learn bad enough from the A.J. Brown trade, they went ahead and did it again and said, here's another all-pro. Send me whoever the hell you want, whatever. It's conditional 7th-round pick in 5 years.
Now, was that under the current GM?
Yes.
Who was our guy?
No. I'm sorry. No. It wasn't. No.
A.J. Brown was the last guy.
Yes. John.
Not Rand
something.
Carthon.
Yeah, no, not Rand.
Rand made this deal. By the way, Rand, love you, man, but you got worked, bro. That was a bad trade for you guys. I mean, although I do need to take a look, right? Because maybe it's better if you're going to blow the whole thing up anyway. At least you got something for him. Yeah. He could very well be in a contract year. So
I said this.
I would expect. Dang, man,
this is so funny. I'm sitting here listening to all of this, and you can see the plan unraveling for the 49ers. I don't know. I'm listening to what everyone is talking about, the trades and how this team is built, right? The reason we have these low drafted guys playing and starting in our secondary is because of what they invested on the defensive line, right? They were expecting really good, consistent pressure, and then who you have in the back doesn't have a big job to do. You know what I mean? But instead, what we're doing now is a lot of zone, and we're making teams attack grass as opposed to attack players, right? And then you're looking at the offensive line and saying, man, the right side is terrible and all that. And it is. I'm not disagreeing with that, but it's the skill positions and the quarterback who is supposed to be a guy who knows the offense, can get the ball out of his hands quickly, and it nullifies the opposing team's pass rush. The plan was a solid plan, but it's unraveling. Now it seems to be unraveling. So the areas of deficiency were calculated risks, but we're we're taking the calculations. It's like someone put the paper in the shredder. Like, oh wait, what were we supposed to be doing again? And we're just ignoring everything that was a clear, concise plan. We're just ignoring it all. And that's why I say that this is more about the schemes of the team right now and not about the players. I really don't think that this is about the play. I'm not saying that we can't get better. I'm not saying that we can't improve at positions, right? But do you need an all-pro corner if you got 3 all-pros on your defensive line? If you got, or between your defensive line and your linebackers, I'm sorry.
It would be better to have an all-pro in each in each position. Like rather than 3 all-pros on your defensive line, why not 2 and then transfer one of those all-pros to your corner position, right? Then you'd have 2 on the line, you have Warner, you have Hufanga, and then you have the corner that you get, and then that's good balance, right? It's just so funny to me that they built from line of scrimmage out on the defense and then from out to in on the offense. They built skill position in on the offense. 2 completely diametrically opposed ways of putting together a team. And in each circumstance, it's backfired on them in a specific way, right? Where San Francisco, under the Kyle Shanahan regime, between Debo and Ayuk and Kittle and, those guys, the skill position players have always seemingly been there. The problem has been the offensive line and the quarterback position on offense, right? Under this regime, the defensive line and the linebackers seem to be there. A lot of issues at the cornerback position, whether it was Jason Verrett who was getting hurt, whether it was, Diamador Lenore going through growing pains and getting benched for Ambry Thomas and then vice versa, whether it was, this guy or that guy, whether you have, Jimmy Ward getting hurt or finally leaving in free agency, Jaquaski Tart dropping interceptions, like it's always something, right? And the problem is neither side of the ball has been built with balance in mind. It's been top or bottom heavy in one way or another. It's a war of extremes on each side of the ball. And now when you don't have that type of depth to cover up for that, now you're getting into spots where something goes wrong and you're not able to recover because you don't have the horses where you need them to be to play a better balanced brand of football. And it's why I always look at the Pittsburgh and the New England model when they were, in their heyday of, it's better to just be constant contenders and rolling through talent and churning talent. The New England model of getting rid of a guy a year too early rather than a year too late, rather than having all of this sunk into one area and then you're deficient everywhere else.
Yeah, man. It's going to be an interesting 7 days until the trade period expires. I'm not thinking of the right word. But there's a lot of football left. I've seen people say 49ers, no way they're going to win. No way they're going to get, host a playoff game. No way there's a shit ton of football left. And I posted this earlier. The best thing about being 5-2 is that they're not 3-4. They're not 3-5. Like they got off to a hot start. Yes, they started 5-0, and that allows them a little bit of a grace period if they slip up a couple of games here and there to where they're not worried about it. Previously, they had no room to slip up because they started really slow. They started 3-4. They started 3-5. They started, 2-3. Now that's not the case. So they are 5-2. They have a bye week in a week. They can get right, go to Jacksonville, and then take care of this tough period of their schedule. Hopefully finish up with a little bit of an easier schedule. So
and here's the thing. If you pick this team to finish 12-5, like a lot of us did, or 13-4, they're right on track with that, guys.
We're on track. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. We still have the second best record in the NFC. Now, I get it. It might be a two-way tie over there, but this is not over. It's not over. It's a lot of football left, and I trust that this team will make the correction that they need to make. They got plenty of time to do it.
And each week, by the way, guys, that we have lost a game, one of the other NFC contenders has lost. Philadelphia lost to the Jets last week. Detroit got dog walked by Baltimore this week. So we're still right there with it. Still got a half game lead on Seattle. They've had their bye week already. We need to take care of business, obviously, within the division. But it's still there for the taking. They just got to adjust some stuff and get right.
Yeah. And to answer this question before we wrap up, throwback, Chiefs, Ravens, and Eagles are all able to get off the field on third downs. Why can't our defense do the same? Aside from the Eagles, both of those teams, they don't have a new defensive coordinator. They have talent. The Eagles, they do have a new defensive coordinator, but they're arguably the most talented, roster, if not the 49ers in the NFL. the most talented defensive line. Like they get home with pressure. They have an all-pro secondary. They're not adjusting to a new scheme. That's my best guess. The 49ers still are.
I also think people aren't watching the Eagles close enough. Eagles fans are in panic mode still. I understand what their record is, but a lot of these games are a lot closer than what Eagles fans want them to be. A lot closer. Now, the final score is one thing because the Eagles just physically wear you down. And so they go off in the fourth quarter of games, like halfway through the third and throughout the fourth quarter. It's good. But the first halves of those games are close. They are still going through their growing pains as well. But what they're doing is saying, hey, let's just go out and get more talent. Let's go get more talent.
Yep.
Spot the deficiency and let's correct it. So
by the way, we hammer on Purdy for his last 2 games. Jalen Hurts has 8 interceptions this year. 9 touchdowns, 8 picks. So, we're going to criticize where they need to be critiqued or whatever, but like I said, the fact of the matter is the fact that we have such high expectations is what makes us so hypercritical, and yet still can be happy with 5-2 and still understand that their combined margin of loss is 7 points. Yeah. So it's just adjustments, man.
Yeah, if he says, why did Shanahan pass up Jim Schwartz this offseason? I don't know if he did. I don't remember him ever interviewing here for the DC position. If so, that was clearly a mistake.
We know the answer. We might not want to admit it. We might not want to say it. They didn't want shit to change. Jim Schwartz isn't coming and becoming a defensive coordinator anywhere if he can't bring his guys with him. The Niners didn't want anyone to bring their guys with him. Wilkes came
That's true.
solo.
He didn't bring any staff.
I have never seen a defensive coordinator come in from another team and bring nobody with him. I don't even know if his family knows what the stadium looks like. I've never seen this before. The Niners wanted someone to say, hey, we got a good thing going here. Top 5 defense the last 4 years in a row. Don't fuck it up. Well, guess what he's doing?
Right. Didn't bring anybody with him, and he still can't get out of his own way.
Yeah.
He's a one-man wrecking crew.
It's like dropping grandpa off at the home and expecting him not to trip over a rail or a stair or something, man. Like, at least have one of his guys to come in like, hey man, that's what you need to do. Relax. But yeah, I don't know what type of defense Jim Schwartz runs, and I also know for a fact that for as much as we get on Steve Wilkes for his, kind of subdued demeanor, as it were, I could not see Schwartz and Kyle Shanahan coexisting. They would probably fist fight in the cafeteria. Like, literally, those dudes.
I'll tell you what, though. I know it doesn't usually happen, but 2 of the best coordinators the NFL has seen on the same team would be scary. It would be scary. Talk about confidence no matter what situation you're in. Whew.
I also have a conspiracy theory that I won't say on the air. I'll save it for when we're off the air, guys. But no, it would be a good opportunity if Jim Schwartz was looking to get back into head coaching to do that. So, yeah, we'll see if they can adjust with Wilkes, but he's driving a Ferrari like it's a 78 Volkswagen. I don't understand what he's doing with it. So got to calm on that. Zach, time to pay the bills, my man.
We're going to get our chat pack question in and wrap up. But before we do, we got to pay the bills. We will be back after this. Just want to take a second to thank today's sponsor, MyBookie. As a bettor, you demand perfection, and MyBookie delivers. NFL, college football, and a brand new cash out system gives you options to bet and win all season long. The first 2 legs of your parlay hit, cash out early and use the funds on another bet. Or you could let it ride for the chance of a bigger payday. Join the MyBookie family for a season filled with odds boosts, free bets, and super contests. To get started, all you got to do is super simple. Go to mybookie.ag right now and register for an account for free. That's right, it's free. And whenever it is you're ready to make your first deposit, just use promo code HIVE. It's right here on the screen, HIVE, to grab a welcome bonus on the house. That's our gift to you for being a part of the 49ers Hive family. That's promo code HIVE, HIVE, to claim your deposit bonus. And for a limited time, you also get a free chip to use in the MyBookie casino. You can bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie. Let's get back to the show. All right, guys, go check out mybookie.ag. Use promo code Hive. Get that deposit matched. All right, chat pack card. You got a good one here. And I'm gonna alter it a little bit because I think I know your answers. So, if you were able to host a morning radio show 5 days a week, what topic would it be for an hour a morning, 5 days a week? Now, obviously, I think we would all pick football. So I'm gonna throw in a little audible and say you can't pick football. What topic would you pick to host a morning radio show?
Video games. I'm a big gamer. Obviously, as you see the Spider-Man PS5 behind me, I have the PS5. I've Game Pass. I'm a gaming PC. I've got a Steam Deck. I've got a Nintendo Switch. Like, I'm in it to win it, dude. I love tech. I love all that stuff. Gaming to me is something that I love just because it's an escape and it's a little more interactive. I love film too, don't get me wrong, but there's something to be said for an interactive type of adventure. I could talk about video games all day long. No problem.
I like that. I like that. Oh man, this is actually a tough one for me. It's gonna be a bit of a cheat, but I think like pop culture. No. True crime. True crime. Did I steal your answer, Mike? True crime would be amazing to talk about. My girl.
Weren't you thinking of doing a true crime
I was
podcast?
just gonna say, yeah, Ash and I had it all. We had a logo done and everything. It kind of fell apart. We never got back to it, which we should.
There's still time, my man. Do
There's
it.
always time, yeah. So the title, get this, Creepy Chronicles. We wanted that alliteration. We wanted true crime. I think it would be fantastic just to tell these stories out there about what's going on, what happened, bring awareness to these things. I feel like enough people aren't aware in their day-to-day lives and they don't know the true dangers, how fucked up people can be. So true crime. Mike?
Yeah, I was going back and forth between true crime and my other answer was going to be now. So I would like to do movie and show reviews. I would love to do that. I don't watch a lot of TV, but it's not that I'm not excited about it or anything like that. I love when a new show can catch my attention. And so I just feel like a lot of shows are being overlooked because we're kind of, before the writer's strike, we were getting slammed with just so much content, original content from Netflix and Paramount and Disney. And it was just so much stuff. Amazon, all these people coming with original stuff and shows, because it's the way we get them changed. A lot of shows are just being flat out missed. What I would love to do is to sit there and break it all down, break down a show, rate it, come up with a rating system, Siskel and Ebert type shit, right? And then at the very end of it, tell people where to find it. Like, don't say, oh, if it's on Amazon, it's got to be good. Because there are people that swear by that. Oh, it's on Hulu. Hulu doesn't miss. HBO documentaries, they're great. They're great, right? Like, but I don't want people to just go into it knowing stuff. I actually did a political podcast years ago. And what we refused to do was talk about what party each candidate represented. It was New Jersey based. And we talked about the local elections, the people that were at the top of each, category that they were running and who they were running against and what they stood for. And we encouraged youth to go out and vote. I had to be 18, 19 years old at the time of doing this. And it was a lot of fun. We were on the radio at Rutgers. Like, we had a really good show. It was solid. And I missed it. But then politics became so fucking annoying. It became so annoying that I was like, I don't know how much longer we can do this. It's just not sustainable.
That's awesome. I like that. I like all those answers. We have a super chat here. One last one from our guy, Master Chef. Why won't they play Alfredo Gutierrez, the Mexican international player, and more of Mason? I don't know if Gutierrez is still
probably because Gutierrez is not good.
I think he meant Feliciano, right?
Well, let's answer both. Gutierrez is big, but he was that international transfer. I don't know if he ever really caught on. I think they saw a lot of good potential in that build. I talk about it like he's a car in that build, but it never really amounted to anything. Feliciano actually is a good question because he started a lot of games in the NFL. No, Master Chef saying Alfredo.
He meant him. Because I've been questioning can we see
Feliciano.
Feliciano.
Yeah.
That's a piece that I think the Niners could try to implement into this offensive line. Like that's a guy that should be coming in here making some noise.
Can he play that much worse than McKivitz? I don't think so.
He's a lot bigger.
It'd be hard.
Really a lot bigger.
It would be hard to play worse than McKivitz is playing.
Yeah. And Mason, I don't know. I honestly don't know.
You know what, though? With the one carry that Mitchell got and they immediately ripped him off the field, I think we've seen about all of Elijah Mitchell, and I think that you'll see a lot more Jordan Mason going forward.
What's frustrating to me, and we'll wrap up right now, is with Elijah Mitchell, if you're not committed to giving him 10 to 20 carries, then don't even bother, because he's the type of back that needs the volume to get going, to get comfortable, to get in a rhythm. You can't just put him in for a carry here or there and expect 3 to 7 yards out of him. In my opinion, that's not the type of runner he is.
Is it true that
Go ahead,
Is
Mike.
it true that McCaffrey was on the field for his one carry?
Yes, they were both in the backfield, and then McCaffrey motioned out to kind of like the slot off the line. Yeah,
I can't believe we didn't discuss this the whole time. I wanted to ask you guys a question. I don't want to get the show started up again. I know you guys got to go. I won't do it.
We'll save it for the next one.
Okay.
I promise.
Ask the question and let us ponder our answer.
Okay.
There you go.
So everyone is saying, "Oh, this is what happens when Debo's not there." Right? We can't motion, we can't disguise, we can't catch the defenses off guard and all that stuff. Why not use the 2-back sets and continue to line McCaffrey up out wide, even if that's not where he stays, right? And use the motion and move the running backs around. If McCaffrey and Debo were so interchangeable, and the offense was lacking because of the non-usage of Debo, which I don't subscribe to, by the way, I don't subscribe to that, but that's what a lot of people were saying. Why didn't we do it? Don't answer the question. I get it. We'll discuss it another time. But that was a ace that we didn't even try to use.
Hear ya. Also, let's see more Ronnie Bell and less of Ray McLeod.
Yes. A lot of questions left unanswered by this game. Hey, they got a quick week to get back to this Bengals game at home. I'm hoping the 49ers get shit right. We'll be back later in the week to preview the 49ers Bengals game on Sunday, week 8. This is a game I'll be going to. Our guy Christian's coming down. He's going to be staying with me. He's going to the game. And I think I saw Perry's going to the game too. So maybe we can have a little mini meetup. But thank you for tuning in. What'd you say about
the game in Jacksonville?
Oh, shit. Okay, nice. I'll meet you there. No, I'm just kidding. All right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in tonight. Mike, I'm sure the folks already know, but please let them know where to find you, where they can get the premium content.
Find me on 49ers Hive. Subscribe. If you're watching right now from the freaking Nothing But Niners channel, go and subscribe to my guys over at 49ers Hive. And if you want extra content, got a new video coming out tomorrow morning. Make sure you guys go to patreon.com/NB9ERS.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you as always. Matt, get us out of here. Absolutely. Another rough one. I know we went in hard, but nothing's too bad. I still shake my head at the people that are just already writing off Brock Purdy and stuff like that. Bro, Herbert, Mahomes, Allen, they all have multiple interceptions. It's time to get right, though. Let's do it at home against the Cincinnati Bengals. They're primed for the picking. Let's go tame these cats. For Zach, for Mike, for myself, thank you as always for joining us. Hopefully next week will be a better game. So with that in mind, until next time, everyone, go Niners.